Thank you for tuning
Oh
in.
my, I did
Yet
not know
another
we even
episode.
started.
Yeah, I did.
What's up, guys?
Yet another episode of the Procrastination Station with Kevin James Booker.
And your boy Nick.
We're talking about high school stories.
Yeah.
High school was crazy. I was going through my old videos and Facebook showing Nick some things that we did in high school, which I thought was pretty funny. Some videos and stuff like that. So
Yeah,
we started talking
funny.
about it. Oh yeah, whatever. Fuck you. And so we were like, you know what, we should talk about it because high school's that thing. Like everybody remembers it.
Honestly, I feel like
It's
I
polarizing.
can't speak for you, but I feel like for me, like high school was very different than college for me.
Oh hell yeah.
And like I was a different person back then as well.
Yeah. I like to think that I haven't changed. I only matured.
Yeah, that's a good way. I mean, like, I'm not talking about like my core beliefs. I'm talking about like.
No, I mean like how you act and how you carry yourself and things you do.
Oh yeah. I mean, yeah. I don't know. I just feel like I whatever. Doesn't matter.
No.
I mean, like, I was just gonna say, like, back in high school, like, I was like pretty much a face in the crowd. Like, not in like a bad way.
Right.
Like, I had a bunch of friends, and like I've always been very sociable. I just feel, and I hate using this word, but it's the only word that I feel like I can really think of right now. Like, I feel like I'm more popular in college, if that makes sense.
You mean you feel like maybe that you have like a bigger network or you have more friends to talk to?
I mean, I've always had a ton of friends, honestly.
Okay.
A ton of friends, but like, I was never like, I feel like I'm just more charismatic and outgoing. Like, I've always been charismatic and outgoing, but like, I feel like in large groups, I've kind of started to be more charismatic and outgoing. So like, you know how like in high school, like I was like chill with my little groups. Like I had like a bunch of friends, but like, you know, I was never a kid to stand out in the class. You know what I mean? And I feel like I'm starting to do that more as like a college student.
Right. I feel that. I think that high school is like super polarized. Like you either come out of high school loving it or hating it. Like there is no middle.
I'd say I'm in the middle.
I feel like if you're in the middle, then you loved it more than you hated it.
Probably. Yeah.
But like that was it. Like for me, I can say with a clear, you know, opinion that I hated high school. Cause for me, like I was the opposite. No one knew me until like 11th grade. And they only knew me, I think, for the wrong reasons. Like reasons like that in retrospect, I don't think I think set me back a little bit. And the social kind of like I feel like I had to condition myself when I came to college because of how I was known in high school.
Right.
9th grade, I had just moved to that neighborhood. No, I didn't. I lived in the same house from high school to middle school to high school, but the neighborhood that the schools were in were different. So I went from like, you know, a nice neighborhood in my middle school to right across the street from like a very hard ghettoed project area in New York City, like, you know, one of the more tougher ones in New York City, right across the street. And so like that was different. Like I remember like in 9th grade, one of my first weeks I got robbed.
Wow.
Right outside my school. Yeah, right outside my school. From my iPod, the newer, you know, like the touch ones that had just come out.
Right.
I had just got all white, you know, like first gen iPod Touch, and it had like vibrant red headphones that I had bought for it, like gummies is what they called them. Everybody loved gummies. And I was walking, and I had like a nice Casio watch on. I remember so vividly because like that was a turning moment. I knew like high school was going downhill from there.
Really?
Yeah, and it did, and it got better, but it did. But he walked up to me, right across the street actually from the school, like
was it like another kid or was it like a grown
it was a
adult?
grown ass man. Like I didn't know this dude.
Oh shit.
And I was right across the street from the school. I was just about to cross the crosswalk that like the school crossing guard was at. Like she was standing there on the opposite side of the street. Like I would like, you know, That's how close I was basically from the school. And he stops me and hits me with this infamous line, "What's like? Do you have the time?" And me being from like a good neighborhood and like not being exposed to that young, like middle school, I was like, I just told him what the time was, like, cause I had a watch on. It was like 7:33. And he was like, "Oh, what's that in your pocket?" He starts reaching for my pockets, and I'm like, "Oh, like it's nothing." And I was like, "Okay, I'm getting robbed now." um, and so he was
I'm
like,
sure just that, like,
"Yeah,
casually. Oh, I'm getting robbed.
No,
Now.
in my head, it was that casual. It was like, "Fuck, I'm getting robbed now." I was like, I already knew. I was like, "Fuck, I've seen this in movies. I know I'm getting robbed." Like, and this was when like gang violence and like crime was like really starting to peak.
Right.
And so. And I was like, "Oh, it's nothing." He's like, "No, no, no, no. Like, pull that out. What's that?" And so I pulled it out, and he was like, "What's it?" And I was like, showed him. I clicked it, and I showed him the time on it, and he was like, "What's the passcode?" And I was like, "Fuck, I'm actually getting robbed." So I just gave him the passcode.
Yo, he didn't even threaten you though. Why didn't you just run
didn't.
across the street?
Dude, but I mean, if you saw the dude, like really scruffy, like like no. I don't know. There was so many signs to him that was like, okay, like I automatically thought he was gang affiliated. He had like the 2 tears on his side of his eye. Like I from first glance, I already felt that he was gang affiliated. So I knew it was like, just give it up, or like this could turn into something worse for me.
Right.
So I showed the passcode, and he was like, "All right, don't tell anybody about this." And he just wrapped up my headphones in it. And he walked away, and I remember walking away, and I was like, "Damn, I can't have my headphones." And he just walked away, and I took like 2 steps. I entered like the middle of the street, and another dude like crossed paths with me. And at that point, I was like, "All right, this definitely was set up," because that dude like stared me down in my face. Like he almost made me feel as like, okay, like, all right, he gave it up. Like I'm glad you gave it up, because if you didn't, like there was gonna be a problem. Right. Like it was like the second back, like.
Oh
If I didn't, God. The first robbery was unsuccessful. Right. The second dude was ready to get it.
So if you had run across the crosswalk.
If I had run across the crosswalk, he was catching me.
Right.
And so, I remember his face like distinctly walking past me. I went up to the school. I told the principal, but she had already been through it. Like she kind of just brushed it. She was like, "All right, well, call your mom. Like, fuck it. You've been robbed, whatever." Like, I was like, "Y'all can't find them. Y'all can't do anything." Like, I was in tears. Went home. And my mom clowned me. My whole family clowned me, actually, which was like, fuck all y'all, because that sucked. They all like, "You fell for the oldest trick in the book and all that." And then I'm just like, listen, y'all motherfuckers must know this hood, because I don't know shit. Like, but
Right.
That was before I knew. Like,
I'm sure all of your other siblings were like, "Oh, thank God that Kevin went through that. Now I know."
You know what's crazy? My mom, works for the Department of Correction. So she already knows about gangs, already knows about all that. But because that's her job. She's been doing it for 32 years. She's so embedded in that. Her sheer goal as a parent was to keep us out of it. So she was always sending us away. I couldn't build, any street knowledge, because every time, like, she was like, "You can't go outside and play after 8:00. In the summer, you go away. You don't stay in New York City, because gang violence goes up." I was never exposed to any of that. And then when I go to high school and she's like, "All right, listen, you're walking to school every day. You're 16. You could stay out a little later." I got to learn all this shit by myself. And then, to come home and get clowned by my whole family who, quote unquote, already knew that, it was really hard. It was fucked.
Poor Kevin.
Yeah. And it only went downhill from there. But high school was crazy. And there was some crazy shit that happened.
Right.
Yeah. A ton.
I mean, obviously, I feel like we had very dramatically different high school
Rochester is different from New York City. Right. Different from Brooklyn.
I think even further from that, I went to Brighton High School, which is in a suburb, which is even lesser so than Rochester. I mean, Rochester now has like, some of the schools, you walk through metal detectors. My bad. You walk through metal detectors before you go into school. Mm-hmm. You get searched. Random buses get random search, like by like
in Brighton.
No, in Rochester.
Oh, okay.
Brighton is like, "Oh, we don't give a fuck. You can do whatever you want. Like,
that's
walk
crazy.
in, walk out." And like since like crazy stuff started happening, like school shootings and whatnot, they've started up their policies. But for a while, when I graduated middle school, if you will. I know you don't graduate middle school, but like I'm doing finger.
Well,
quotes.
I did.
We didn't. We graduated, like, Elementary school. We didn't graduate. Maybe we
I
did.
graduated
Maybe
all
we did.
three.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
Yeah.
Well, I just don't remember because I don't care.
Oh, okay.
But anyway, once we graduated, like you could walk back in the building whenever you wanted, like as a high schooler, and just like go visit your teachers, and like it was no thing. Now, like they have like you have to be buzzed into the building, and then once you're buzzed in, you have to go to this check station. Then you get checked, and you like, are you there for a legitimate reason? And if you are, then you get a pass, and then you can go. But it used to be like just stroll in. What's up, professor? How you doing? How's it been? One of my favorite memories actually is I was with my friend Jack Piotrowski when we were in high school, and we went back to middle school to visit some teachers. And we went to visit his science teacher. I never had this science teacher. I had a different one. But he had this science teacher, so he really wanted to visit her because she was very influential on him because he was in her club or something like that.
Right.
So he went, and he was like, hey, what's going on? And I was there, and she's like, oh, my God, how are both of you? I miss you both. I remember having both of you. And I was sitting there, like, in my head. I didn't want to be, like, rude or anything, but I was like, bitch, you never had me as a student?
That's
I
so
was
awkward.
I was like, that means you definitely don't remember Jack.
Right.
Poor Jack.
Yeah. That was like the same thing in my school. Like, well, I mean, from the city, there was always metal detectors.
Right, we don't have any of that. Like, you literally just walk in, walk out.
Well, actually, I would say in city schools, it's very common. In mine, it wasn't, though. Because mine was like a new up-and-coming school. It was originally a middle school. And then
You're talking about your high school?
Yeah, my high school.
The performing arts, whatever?
Yeah. It was middle school, and then the top floor was converted for a new high school. And so, like, the middle school never had metal detectors or anything.
Right. And we had a little more security when we got into high school. Like, we had security guards, but, like, still nothing crazy. Like, you could just walk in, walk out. And, like, it's a little stricter now. You can still slip in and slip out.
Ours is, too, yeah.
And, like, I can go say hi to teachers.
You started to have to scan in and all that stuff.
Oh, we never had to scan in.
Yeah, we had to.
You could just
let
walk,
people know.
You can still just walk in. But now if you're like a visitor, like they'll stop you. Like if you don't look like a high school student, they'll stop you and be like, all right, you need to sign in, and do all that. But like as a student, you could walk in, walk out. And the dope thing about our high school was we had free periods. I guess a lot of schools don't have that. Some schools, like rather than having free periods, they had what was
homeroom?
No, what was that class that you had where like study hall?
Okay.
They had study hall.
We never had that either.
We had free
or free.
We had free periods, which was you'd set up your high school schedule, and any period that you didn't have a class, you just had free, and you could do whatever you want. You could go off campus. You could go to the library. You could go play outside. You could literally go to the cafeteria, eat whatever you want for your free period. And those are dope because we were right near a little plaza. It's called 12 Corners Plaza. And when you'd walk over there, you could get Subway, you could get Starbucks, you could get Panera Bread, you could get all this stuff. Bagel Land, bunch of great stuff. And so we would just, like, you could do whatever you want on your free period. And those were amazing. But I guess, like, so many kids never experienced that.
Yeah, we never had that. It was like they knew once you're in school, like, if you leave, you're not coming back. Like, I mean, like, their retention rate at that school, I imagine, was so low because it's right across the street from, the projects. It's those kids that are going to that school have a lot more issues to deal with than, students at a district that has more money, and a higher income level. So they did their most to keep us in school.
Right.
Like, the teachers were always glued, because we were on the what is it, fourth floor. We were on the fourth floor, so I'm pretty sure they had teachers glued to the windows to catch kids cutting class. Like if your teacher went to the window and saw you cutting, usually teachers would drop hints to be like, all right, well, I'll see Keyshawn tomorrow. And to detention is like, all right, I knew Keyshawn was out, and like it's like Keyshawn was supposed to be sitting in this class. Of course, his professor had saw him, first period, and now he's not here sixth period. Professor knows something's up, and then sees you outside. Right. It's like, all right, you're cutting. But they tried their hardest to keep us in school, but there was always so much going on.
Right.
So many fights. Man, I could tell you fucking stories about that school. It was crazy.
Most of our stories in our school. I don't know about your school, but for us, the hangout spot was the library, which I always hated. Which we had a 2-story library. Like it wasn't like actually like that big, but like there were 2 floors, each like modestly sized. Um, and the bottom floor, you could only access the top floor. You had to go in the top floor to get to the bottom floor, and the bottom floor was like the loud area, if you will. Like you're allowed to talk, group work and whatnot, but it was significantly smaller. And for whatever reason, maybe it was just the people that I hung out with. They always wanted to hang out on the top floor, where the librarians would always be patrolling for people talking, because you're not supposed to talk on the top floor. And like, I cannot tell you how many people I watched get kicked out, or how many times I got kicked out for talking. A good story about my good friend Jack Piotrowski is he once got kicked out of the library because someone else threw an apple at the back of his head and it exploded. But all the professor saw was Jack picking up the apple. And she's like, "Get out!"
Wow.
Yeah.
First of all, why is an apple that soft?
Oh, because they had already been throwing it around a lot.
That's crazy.
Yeah, but like, and that's where like I always wanted to hang out like outside, or like, in the cafeteria or in the lower level of the library. But they're like, no, fuck that. Like we're staying in the upper side. And I'm like, all right, then we have to like be terrified of these like mean librarians who want to like kick us out. But like Jack was like neighbors with one of the librarians. So like he kind of had it in, but like she hated me. I know she did. She had like favorites. And like I'd always try to like talk to her, like because you'd see her coming.
Right.
And so when she came, you'd be like, "Oh, what's up, Mrs. Bender?" Like, how's it doing? Like, try to distract her, and she's like, "You're being too loud. Please shut up." And I'm like, "Oh, I'm so sorry."
Wow. Oh man, I would say like the hangout spot in our school was probably just lunch. Like, right, well, all kids just look forward to lunch.
And that's the thing. Like, we didn't have lunch periods. We had free periods.
Yeah.
So like, if your free periods lined up with your friends, then you'd go hang out in the library. Like, it's not structured. Like there's no lunch period. There's no lunch period where everyone's in the cafeteria at the same time. It's just like you have free periods throughout the day. You find the friends that you have free periods with, and you go hang out. Sometimes you'll grab food, then head to the library. Sometimes you just chill in the library because you've already eaten, like a bunch of shit.
Yeah. Nah, it was just like lunch for us, I guess. There was like 3 lunch periods. And you never really could go to all 3. Like, I don't even remember kids really trying to go to all 3. But, like, you were always at your lunch period because it was – well, actually, no. Sorry. There was only 1 lunch period for the whole school.
Damn. That's a lot of kids in one room.
Yeah, it is. But that's – I mean, and, weirdly enough, it was, like, segregated. Like, people just segregated themselves. Like, well, by class, obviously.
Right.
And it worked out. It led to a shit ton of fights. People are always fighting all the time.
Really?
Yeah, like I remember this one kid, like there's a Vine where you see a kid jump off a table and like slap another kid. You ever seen that?
No. I mean, it sounds familiar.
Yeah, he just like runs off the table and like does like a real dramatic slap and the kid hits the floor. That happened in my school.
Oh.
Not that specific Vine, maybe it was, but I've seen a kid just run over a table and like deck a kid like on the floor. Yeah, I've always gotten to fights at lunch just once when I was a lot more bold and I was in 12th grade because I think we were, like, throwing food. Yeah.
Wow, real mature.
Yeah. Yo, but, like, in retrospect, when, you live 2 years in high school, 2.5, I would say I didn't really know anybody until, like, my third and a half year of high school. But like when you don't know anybody for like 2 years or 2.5 years and then everybody knows you and you become the funny guy, you do shit to maintain your status as the funny guy.
Right.
And that's what I did. Like I wasn't an asshole. I was never an asshole because I was just not that dude. But like I was always known, at least I think, as the funny kid. Like everybody who knew me or hung out with me thought I was hilarious. I was just always like just being clever and shit like that. And then one time I think I was just throwing food because I thought it was funny, and this Spanish kid approached me and said something, and I just brushed him off. And then he like said something else, like he wanted to fight me, and I was like, I'll fuck you up right here. I'm okay with that. And then I think the guidance counselor just walked over and was like, he diffused the whole situation.
He was like, let me guide you.
Yeah, which was weird because that dude was more angry than I am. All I said was like, you can be angry. Like, just know if you want to fight, I'll fuck you up. That's it. Like, and then the kid just got really heated and, like, people started holding him back. And I just looked at him like, I'm a real placid dude. Like, you know. But I can hold my ground. Just let you know that. Like
Right.
I fucking I changed. High school changed me. I went from this kid that like in 6th grade wore sweater vests and like t-shirts and like button ups because that was like the thing for me when I was in middle school. Hell no, I became like this dude who wore like tracksuits and
He was the
like
tracksuit kid.
nah. I would say like I don't know. My style wasn't like full tracksuit, but it was like I wore what the other kids
Right,
wore.
right.
I was like, in, but like not really in because I was still kind of broke, but like funny enough to be accepted.
There
Like
you go.
that was it. Like nobody would mess with me, or at least they wouldn't like actively try to mess with me because I was just always the funny kid. It was like there's no reason to fuck with him.
Right.
But before that, I was telling Nick like in 9th grade, some dude tried to throw me in a trash. Well, a group of kids tried to throw me in a trash can. Um, I sat by myself every lunch. Uh, shit, I can't even remember all the other stuff.
My my
It's really isolating
my
though.
high school has gone through a lot of transitions. Like when my brother went there to the same high school I did, but he was 4 years ahead of me, so we
Mm.
only shared 1 year. But his high school experience was vastly different than mine.
Yeah.
And like I would talk to him about it, and like my high school years were the years where, for whatever reason, my school district was really pushing like, we love everybody,
Mm-hmm.
don't do bad things. Like when my brother was a freshman, he got thrown in a dumpster on freshman Friday because
Wow.
like that's the shit like they did.
Yeah.
The seniors would terrorize freshmen. Like they had a week to terrorize freshmen, basically. And then you had freshman Friday, which is like the culmination of it, right? And then you had you know, senior prank day and all this other stuff. And like there were some like crazy pranks. Someone cut a bunch
Mm-hmm.
of trees down on campus, and people were like, "What the fuck?"
Right.
Like just crazy shit. And
I kind of wish we had days like that.
and then and then my school, like when I got into high school, it was like freshman Friday was devolved to like um seniors can give stickers to freshmen if the freshman is consenting. And
Wow.
then it further transferred to my senior year. You couldn't even do stickers. Stickers are like
That's
one
crazy.
kid ended up silly stringing some freshman. He got like suspension or detention for it, and I was like,
Wow.
that's crazy. Like my school really made that huge leap for like
Uh-huh.
we're a cushy, family friendly, place where nothing bad ever happens. Which like I mean is like okay.
Uh-huh.
It's good in some respects, but in other respects it makes you a bitch.
Right.
You know. Um
It makes you a bitch.
just like I'm so like thankful for my high school. Like it was a pretty like very diverse like
Mm.
place with like a great educational system. And I learned like a lot and like very well. Um, but like there was never any true drama for me. Like you were talking about like how you had like bullies in your school. Like we never had any bullies. Like you had douchebags who would like make fun of kids from time to time, but it was
Mm-hmm.
never like this one specific kid or like this one group of kids would like
Yeah.
continually repeatedly like rag on certain kids.
Mm.
Like it's just kind of like every once in a while you get a douche who'd be like, "Yo, you're fat, ha." But
Yeah.
never actually they would almost never actually say it to the kid. They just say it to their little group and they'd be like, "Oh, he is so fat, ha ha ha."
Mm-hmm.
And like that was it. There's never really any bullying that I saw really. However, in my school, it was kind of like the girls that were really nasty. A lot
Oh
of the
yeah.
girls were really catty and like crazy, and like the number of like we had that popular girls group, and like talking to people that I know in high school. The number of girls in that group that would just like fuck each other's boyfriends to get back at each other was ridiculous. Like everyone in that circle had
Wow.
basically ended up fucking because they were just trying to backstab one of their friends. And I was like, that's crazy.
Yeah. My school, um, I would say like in regard to like the bullying thing, it was you lived in one of these two spaces. You were either a popular kid who, was down with the popular kids, was funny. You like bums could be in this popular group, like if you wore bummy clothes or whatnot, but because everybody cares about brands and stuff, all those kids were wearing the most expensive things and Gucci
Right.
belts and blah 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 blah. North Face, that was huge, and then if you weren't in that group, you were just like an outcast kind of. And
Right.
like, there might have I got, the traditional kind of bullying when I was an outcast. Like people tried to throw me in the trash and like, I remember one time sitting in science class, three of the people who tried to throw me in the trash, my teacher actually told me to sit at their table. Because he was like, you're cuz I in high school I took a lot of upper level upperclassmen classes. Like when I was in ninth grade, I was taking 10th grade classes.
So you're advanced.
So I was advanced, and my professor was like, sit with them and help them learn the material. And so I would help them, and they would just tell me like, shut the fuck up, like, are you stupid? Like they would just not care about what was going on. And I used to get flack from the professor saying like, yo, like they're not doing anything. And then in 10th grade, I was with, I would no, when I was in 11th grade, and I was in physics with no, sorry. When I was in I forget. Fuck, I can't remember. What it was a science class. And there was three of the bullies there, and they were seniors. The only way I became popular was because I decided to make a joke about something, and they all thought it was fucking hilarious. So funny. And they started to tell everybody. And then I was stage managing our school play for the seniors, and they had knew of the funny comment or whatever funny thing I did, and I was talking to them and started to make more jokes. And then as I stage managed the play, I also wrote a little bit of it, so people thought like the things that I was writing was funny, and so I became that funny character. And then I
Right.
just rode that high till the end of high school. But yeah, the like I don't know. My high school people were like sucking dick in the bathroom, like
I mean, like stuff
fucking
like that. Like I feel like
yeah.
probably less often happened in our high school. I
Nah,
guess a
yeah.
couple people got like walked in on while they were having sex and
hmm
stuff, but that was like way more rare.
I remember used to seeing women get hit by their boyfriends in staircases. Like it
Oh,
was, yeah. I actually dated a girl that happened to, which is like, I don't know, one of my I don't know about that decision,
right,
because I don't know what I was trying to do.
right.
I feel like I whatever for another podcast, but yeah, I don't know. High school's it was madness. I would say like in retrospect. And I know so many high schoolers deal with like trying to fit in,
hmm
and I don't know. I
And
just wish that was something I didn't do.
that was something that I feel like I dealt with. I wish that I had looking back, like I wish that I had been more of a personality in high school. Like not that
Yeah.
I was a personality like amongst my groups, but like in the general like population of my class, like
Mm.
at rallies and whatnot, I was very quiet and like very nervous,
Mm.
and like I would honestly, I think what I'm kind of realizing has changed is like two big things. Like one, I just don't care anymore.
Yeah. Same.
It's kind of like
Now I don't care.
I used to be like, oh my god, like during like pep rallies or like stuff like that, I'd be like, I'm not gonna say anything because what if I make a fool of myself and then everyone will think that they'll hate me
Mm-hmm.
and I'll become a social outcast. Like that was like my worst fear. So I was always like, just very quiet. I'd hang out with my friends and that was it. Now I don't give a fuck. Like I'll go talk to anybody and
Right.
um, but like even back then, like I'd go talk to people, but like it would have to be on a very like one-to-one basis. Like I was
Mm-hmm.
never a person to be like, oh, there's a group of 10 people here. Let me be like, yo, what's going on? How's everybody do it? You know what I mean? It was more like I'll talk to you on a one-on-one level, and then we can become friends because I am sociable and nice.
Mm-hmm.
And then like maybe I'll slowly join your little group. But like there would never be an instance where Nick would be in a large group and he'd be like, yo, what the fuck's going on, everybody? Like there would now. Now I'm totally down for that. But and then another big thing, which was just like I still have to like work on, but like I was so much like raised by my parents and like in the church and like everything to be like you just do what fucking authority figures tell you to do. You just
Uh-huh.
do it.
Yeah.
And like I would never I had one detention in high school. And
Same.
this was back when I was like and I got it towards the end of high school.
Me
And it was
too.
because I was starting to realize like I don't have to do any of this shit. Like none of your like you can't actually do anything. to
Yeah.
me. Um
It was because I was late.
mine was because I skipped on senior skip day and my
Oh.
parents told the school to punish me to the fullest extent.
Wow.
Yeah. Um but I had never gotten detention. I was always a very good student, very respectful, never, questioned anything, just did. You know what I mean? Just followed. And like as I've grown up and like as I become an adult, I'm like, yo, I don't have to do this shit. Like just because someone tells me to do that, I can be like, no.
Right.
You know what I mean? And like kind of assert myself. And like used to always be like nervous to be, like, ask like for like, if someone screwed up my meal order or whatever, or I want more of this or I want less of that or whatever, I would never say anything. And now I'm like, give me some more damn chicken nuggets.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Hell
like
yeah.
I'm paying for your service.
Right.
If I'm at Chipotle and I want more beans, give me more fucking beans because
Right.
I'm paying for that shit. You
Exactly.
know what I mean? Back then I would have been like, oh, it's okay, thank you. And also I think a big part of it was like I was very small, like incredibly small in high school. My freshman year and sophomore year, I was like probably like 5'2", 5'3",
Yeah.
maybe 5'4". End of sophomore year, beginning of juniors when I hit my growth spurt, and that's when I got like tall and athletic and like,
Yeah.
and I feel like not that helped me become I don't want to say leader, but I'm gonna say leader, like a leader in my groups
Or more confident.
So like I feel like back in middle school, like we're all even because like
Right.
everyone's a
little dude.
and I was also super nerdy at that time. Like I went to like the game club, which was where you played like Yu-Gi-Oh and Pokemon and stuff like that.
We didn't have a game club though.
And that was back in middle school, and then come high school, like I was still kind of in that groove, but like I was not like I was a forefront figure in like, how like groups kind of have leaders.
Yeah.
Like I was like a leader of like the nerdier groups, but in like my more like, I guess mainstream for lack of a better term, like groups of friends,
Right.
I was like more of like a behind the scenes player.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I hit my growth spurt, I feel like that helped me be like, I'm a leader now.
Right.
And then like after leaving high school, I was like, I don't even need to be a leader. Like I'm just gonna be me. Like
Right.
fuck all this. And then people just kind of like find their way to you.
Right. I would say for me, like the best thing about high school and coming out of it was that and it's so funny because people always pose this question of like, yo, like, is bullying really detrimental to you? And yes, it is. Like I believe so. And I remember hearing people saying like, oh, like I hope my son gets bullied because it'll teach him to be tougher. Like not everybody can do that,
right.
but like,
and I think
for me it kind of did work that way.
But if you think about it, like, bullying is kind of like, it may make you like physically tougher, but I don't think they when people say like, oh, I hope my kid gets bullied because it'll make him tougher, I don't think they're thinking about like the mental toll it takes on the kid,
especially at that age,
especially at that influential age. And when you're at that age where like you don't really have like a full grasp on everything, and like you don't really see the future, and like you're just kind of focused on now, and you have all of your classmates being like, yo, kill yourself.
Yeah.
Like that leads to bad shit.
Right.
You know what I mean?
It's crazy. And right, 100%. But I think that like, being an outcast and then being somebody who is like, mildly popular. I wouldn't say I was like the most popular kid, but a lot of people knew me. It taught me a lot of things. Like it taught me and it trained me to where now I always feel as though I need to be like probably the most vocally charged person in the room. I need to be ready to say what's on my mind and to speak what's on my mind because, a lot of high school I felt like I was held back. Like I was either shadowing other people or I had no friends or I had no one to talk to. And I had no voice. But, I'm older and I'm like, I can use my voice to defend other people who feel like, or who are actively being held down. Like
right.
I don't know if I ever told you about this college party I went to where I like
yeah you did
that was a pivotal moment. I feel
for
like
all of our viewers who don't know that, do you want to explain it?
Yeah, all right. So long. I'll tell the full story. I went to
a quick summary.
All right, whatever. Quick summary. I was with a couple of people at a college party that wasn't hosted by anybody from my school, and there was a few other schools there. And the people who hosted the party were having a great time, but then they decided to get too drunk, and they started yelling at people who they didn't know, telling them to get the fuck out. And there was this boy in front of me, and I was in a group. There was like 3 of us guys and like 6 girls with us. And I was with a big group, But this dude, he was either waiting for somebody or he was just by himself, and he's in front of me, and they started yelling at him, telling him to get the fuck out, and he's like, dude, I'm just here to have a good time. I'm not trying to start any trouble. And they're just pressuring this dude, yelling at him, like 3 dudes in his face, like getting really absurdly, disgustingly crazy, especially, where like college is still one of those times where you're growing and you're trying to, find who you are. It's just, it's like the next, obviously it's the next stage from high school, but like,
Right.
it's just another social setting where you're trying to find yourself, grasp, where you want to go in life and find those friends that you want to hold on to for forever. And they just ripped into this kid, and he did not deserve it. And so I could have sworn I heard somebody say it to my friend, so I just turned around and I was like, yo, I was with this guy named Ethan. I was like, yo, Ethan, is anybody talking to you? Because I'll beat the shit out of anybody in this place. And everybody kind of got quiet. And I was like, yeah, because I don't give a fuck. No one's going to talk to me or my friends like that or disrespect me because I don't play that. We don't disrespect anybody. I'm not going to be disrespected. So if I'm going to get the fuck out this house, I'm going to do it on my own terms. Yo, we out. And we just left. And everybody was like, yo, like, you didn't have to say that or anything like that. Like, that was the thing. But, like, still to this day, I feel bad that I was able to speak up for my friend, but I wasn't able to speak up for that kid. And I'll never let that happen again.
Right.
Because, like, no one deserves that. And high school taught me that. Like, no one deserves bullying. No one deserves isolation, especially in a social setting where we all want to be accepted.
Yeah.
In a world where we all want to be accepted and, have people that we care about. And, that I care about my friends now. Like, before, I didn't have friends. And then when I got friends, I was like, I kind of lost them, as you mature and you grow older. And now that I have my college friends, I'm like, I'm going to keep them. I'm going to
Oh boy.
yeah, I'm going to keep my friends. I'm going to, actively try to be a great friend to them.
Right.
Hope they reciprocate it and still put all my heart and soul and, still defend people to the death because, we all need to live in a world where, like, we're all treated equal.
Right.
And
why don't we finish this podcast with a little nice story?
Right. From high school?
Yeah, nice story from high school.
My high school?
Either.
All right.
I was gonna do one, and then you could also do.
All
one.
right, go ahead. You do.
I
yours
didn't
first.
have mine. I was just.
Oh, all right. I'll tell
that
one.
Idea.
I will say that my nice story from high school is that I have this guidance counselor who his name was Mr. Garcia, and he was like the coolest dude. We used to talk to him all the time. We used to chill, even though we would act really silly and we would probably do shit that would probably get us in trouble. Mr. Garcia never got us in trouble, because he really was like helping kids. He originally started out as a paraprofessional, and now he's the school's guidance counselor. After I left, he became the school guidance counselor. So it's like it was really awesome to see that, like, once I left, he was so good about helping students and, like, the betterment of them, even though they're, we're inner city kids who live in like a poor district, going to a school where like no other person probably cares about us. He was that person who, probably puts the best foot forward. So, like, shout out Mr. Garcia.
Right. I've been trying to think of like a good school story.
Yeah, I mean, that wasn't a good school story, but like that was a high note.
Yeah. Like I don't know. Like I feel like I just have a bunch of like very normal times. Maybe I just can't think of them right now, or they probably didn't take place at. Like I'm trying to think of one that took place at school. It's like how many?
Well, I mean, all right, I'll tell another one while you think.
Go ahead.
All right. I knew that I kind of found my passion in high school when I was making like when I was like starting my quote unquote production company or whatnot, and it was a really intrinsically good moment in retrospect, that told me like, yo, like, you're on the right path, like, you're doing the right thing, keep with it. In 12th grade, because I had originally stage managed, they were like, yo, you guys could either write your own play or recite a play that's already been done. So we were all like, let's write our own play. And so we're all sitting in this big ass room trying to figure out, in the auditorium, trying to figure out what we want to write about. And I was just coming up with like bomb ass idea after bomb ass idea, and everybody was loving it. And so I wrote like nearly all of our school play for the high school, the senior class. And we recited it and we did it and everybody loved it and it was amazing and I
Lit.
got so much like recognition and everybody loved it and I was like, yo, like I loved it. I loved the process of doing it. It was
Right.
like really good for me.
That's dope. I thought of a good one for me. And then this kind of plays into the whole thing. Like, this is my senior year, so there's no way I would have probably ever done this, especially not freshman or sophomore year. Maybe junior year, but like I feel like since it was senior year, it was perfect. But every year we would have like a homecoming competition between all the different classes, right?
Mhm.
And we have this like small little parade around a block where each class would make a
block.
float,
Mhm.
and the floats would like go in this parade, and you'd march with the class had the option to march with your floats. Not the whole class is there, but like a good number, maybe like 50 to 100. And you march with your float, and you can like throw candy or do whatever you want. It was a whole like big thing for the town. And then like that night was when we played the homecoming game, which our fucking football team was just ass. So we lost we lost for like 12 years running. Like it was just horrible. We were so bad at football. But anyway, we'd always go and have a good time and whatnot. And I remember my senior year, I don't even know why, but like I think the juniors who were the class in front of us
Mhm.
in the parade started cheering some dumb shit, and so I was like, fuck them, like we're gonna come up with some like catchy chant, and we'll start chanting louder than them. And I like led a bunch of chants like throughout this parade, and I was like, that's pretty dope.
That's
Like
really
looking
cool.
back on it, like I hardly, not hardly remember, I remember it, but like I just like I feel like it's so easy to like overlook
Yeah,
your
overlook
like
the good
memories.
moments.
Yeah.
The good memories.
And like the only reason I actually remember that is because I was like, what did I do in high school? And like I remember this photo that got taken and posted to Facebook of like me with, I think at the time, like our like treasurer or like secretary or vice president or whatever, on Facebook at the float. And I was like, oh yeah, we did that float thing. And I was like, oh yeah, I led the chants. And I was like I would never would have done that any other year, but it was a lot of fun. And like, yeah, it was a good time.
Right. Sounds like a really good time. It sounds like a really powerful
Then
moment for you.
we snuck into the football game. I ain't paying no $5 to see my own goddamn team play.
What? They made you pay?
Yeah.
Damn.
And we cheered, had a good time. Yeah, fun. I painted my face. I started, and like that's like my biggest regret is like I wish I was more of a personality in high school, because I love like supporting teams.
Yeah.
Like when I go to like games that I don't care about, like if I go to a Red Wings game, like I will chant for both teams because I fucking love cheering.
Yeah.
Like that's what I'm about. So like I wish that I was one of those like charismatic kids like freshman, sophomore, and junior year, and I was leading the chants, and I was getting like face paint, and I was dressing all crazy. But I only really did that senior year, and I think a lot of the confidence came from like me being like, I don't know, like physically bigger, but also like I was like performing really well in frisbee at that time. So like if you talk to anyone on the frisbee team, like don't fuck with Nick on frisbee. I'll
Nick
fuck
was
your day
your
up.
guy.
Like yeah, I was like, I don't know. I don't want to say whatever. I'm not gonna say
No.
But like yeah, that like gave me a lot of confidence, and like just like like I had like almost like a legacy in frisbee. Like
Okay.
I was good. We had an entire offense built around me and one other kid, and everyone else would just stand on the sideline.
Wow.
They wouldn't be on the sideline, but they'd be standing
yeah.
along the sideline, because me and this other kid would just like fucking dick around and like score points because we were baller.
Is that play you we did that one time?
No, that's the Moses.
Oh.
There's a bunch of frisbee bullshit that like happens, but it was just really because I got to be a captain, so I was like a leader from that, and like being like dominant in that. Like I was like one of the best players in the Rochester area, and like top 20, top 15 in the states. So like yeah, like just kind of having that like dominance, like it gave me a lot of confidence, and I started just fucking shit up.
Right. I'm happy for you. Tweet us your high school stories. We want to know. We hope you have a great day.
Yeah.
See you later.
Bye guys.